Welcome to today's talk session. My name is Deidre Moss, and I am the host of Can We Talk? I am an educator, motivator, and a talk connoisseur. In recognition of National Heroes Day on Monday, October 11, 2021, our session today will focus on our national heroes. Today, we welcome Vera Chase, President of Commonwealth Writers of the Bahamas, who will help us to dissect this topic today. So at this time, I will pass the virtual mic to her to have her introduce herself. Ms. Chase.
Hello world. My name is Vera Jane Poetess Chase. I have a long name, the Poetess of Cat Island, and I've been researching Bahamian history for about 20 years, and I research every day. Every day is a new day, new excitement, new things to follow, new things to find, and I love it. I love this kind of work I'm doing. I'm self-motivated to reach out to everyone around the world, let them know that the Bahamas is not only sun, and sea, but it's also history.
Awesome stuff. And so thank you for that introduction, Ms. Chase. Can we talk about National Heroes Day?
Yes, we can talk about National Heroes Day. It's been bothering me for some time that national heroes were not given a day to themselves. We don't need to take Christopher Columbus out of our history and put national heroes there. All those days are different, completely different history. Christopher Columbus has his time in Bahamian history, and national heroes have their time in Bahamian history. What is so awesome about Christopher Columbus Day and the fact that we were the first, they were the first Europeans to reach the Bahamas, and they were the first Europeans to introduce us to that part of the world. This is not something that we can just dismiss lightly. Before Christopher Columbus came, most persons in Europe know nothing about the Bahamas. They never even knew these islands existed. And what is so awesome about that day also that when Christopher Columbus, even though they said he was an evil man, when he went back to Spain, he took several Indians with him. And they were baptized at the Cathedral Church in Barcelona, Spain, before they were introduced to Queen Isabel and the Spanish court. And that fount is still in the Catholic Cathedral Church of Barcelona, Spain. The fount where he baptized the Indians is still there, and you can Google it and find it for yourselves. It's still there. Secondly, about Christopher Columbus is the Governor General in 1829, Sir James Carmichael Smith. He was also a scholar of Christopher Columbus. And when the liberated Africans came to the Bahamas and Sir James Carmichael Smith did so much for them, they worked hard to give him the money to purchase that statue at Government House. Statue is not supposed to be taken very lightly. Liberated Africans gave the governor the money to purchase the statue. Please, no one, please don't take it down, because it would be an insult to ancestors. National heroes. A national hero is someone who did something for the country and the people. You can't just walk along the street or wherever you are, sitting in your office, and all of a sudden you're a national hero. National heroes do things for the people and for the country. And the people should know they are national heroes personally and why you are a national hero. So what is a Bahamian national hero? Who are they? Does anyone know? Can anyone name one? I can name one for you. It's Samala Butler. Samala Bolton Butler was a national hero in every sense of the word. That man used to give money to the poor. He used to visit the hospitals. He's the one who put Black people in the banks in Nassau and throughout the Bahamas. I was in the branch when Samala Butler walked into the Royal Bank of Canada and demanded that the manager hired more Black Bahamians. Before that, they hired Spanish Wells and Abaco and Long Island. They're not Black Bahamians, but Samala Butler said, hire them. I was there when he came into the bank and did that.
Awesome stuff. And so we just want to take just a little step back. We want to talk about this session. So in this session, we want to highlight National Heroes Day that is celebrated. And that is going to be observed soon. So National Heroes Day has been recognized or observed as a holiday since 2013. This is after National Heroes Day replaced Discovery Day, an observance that recognized Christopher Columbus, and you spoke about him. Christopher Columbus' Discovery Day and discovery and landfall in the Bahamas in 1492. So with that, we're going to get into our talk. And you talk about National Heroes Day. So what does National Heroes Day mean to you, Ms. Chase?
It should be a day when persons who did something for the country, and I don't just maybe one island or wherever they live, it's someone who did something that's awesome for the country and the people, that the people know you very well, and you've done something that brought credence and respect to the country. That to me, that's a national hero. That's a national hero. So I don't know the list of Bahamian national heroes that they have there now, but I don't think all those persons on the list of national heroes are national heroes. I don't know, maybe the national hero to me, and I went to Catholic school, is Father George Wolfe, who went from island to island and carrying food and whatever and making sure people were comfortable and oh boy, it's really uh did you sure you want me? This is gonna make me cry.
No,
Because I
share,
know
share,
that
share.
persons who are national really
Go ahead, go
I
ahead.
know that persons who are national heroes are not really recognized. Um, I went to Catholic schools and the Catholic nuns at Mount St. Vincent, New York, they're not Bahamians, but they came into the country and they set up a school for Bahamian children. They didn't have to come. They taught us very well how to be ladies and whatever, and some went to schools in Augustine's, whatever, but they taught us how to be well trained Bahamians, how to live your life, how to build character, and that's what I think a national hero is all about. Now, I'm not saying that the persons on the list that we have for national heroes are not did that, but I don't think all those persons did anything for the country. I don't think so. If you know of anyone who's on the list who did so much for the country, you can let me know.
Okay, I just want to pull in a comment from Maddie Pollard. And if I didn't get your name correct, you could correct me, okay, Miss Pollard? And let me know, where you coming from, where are you from? But she says, tell some of these people who do not know their history. Some people think when they sit behind one desk and who they are related to makes them a hero. So Miss Pollard, thank you for your comment. And tell us where you're from, by the way. Yeah, so that was just a comment from someone who was listening in, Ms. Chase. She's saying that sometimes people want to, put people forward as a hero, maybe based on, them being relatives and all those stuff. But we need to know the history of, like you said, those persons who would have taught us, who would have developed schools and who would have educated us. Those are heroes as well.
Exactly.
And so.
And what about the midwives in the family islands and one midwife, like maybe on the island of Auckland, who had made sure that all the children, the pregnant women, the babies were born, and hospitals when the family islands didn't have doctors, when a certain midwife would be on the island and would do everything. What about those persons who are dead and gone and no one even know who they are? But yet still have hundreds of adults walking around today who they birthed on these islands. What about them? Nobody knows who they are. But they are really national heroes because if you live on Mayaguana, which is down in southern islands, and you're pregnant, no doctor was going to go away there to deliver your baby. The midwife had to do that. What about the police officers or people in the community who are dentists, who have to do the dental work for these people? And the Bahamas is a lot of islands, that many people, unsung heroes, are gone and forgotten. That are really,
Thank
they're
you.
really national heroes.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. Oh, so Ms. Pollard said she's from Freeport, Grand Bahama. Thank you so much, Ms. Pollard, for listening in, and thank you for sharing that point with us. We appreciate you listening in today. Thank you so much. And again, if you have any further commentary, please feel free to add to
They
this
can
talk
ask.
today.
Yeah, they can ask.
Or if you would have any questions for Ms. Chase, I'm sure she'll be willing to
I
entertain
will
you.
as much as I can. I'll really I'll say we have Dr. Jackson Burnside in New Providence, who was he never charged anyone for the dental work that he did. You know, if you had a toothache or had some dental problems, and he was well versed and educated, and he would
And so
do
you
the
saying
dental
he
work
was
of
a
course.
he was a Bahamian dentist. He didn't charge
He,
for his work.
no, he was Dr. Jackson Burnside. He's the Burnside brothers' father. I know him very well. I don't think his name is anywhere on anything. You know what he did for the poor and persons who didn't have any money. That's just one person I'm thinking about right off the bat. And
And
then in going back,
I'm glad that you made that point, that sometimes we have a lot of unsung heroes as well. And so it's important to understand that not everybody is highlighted for the work that they do. But I want us to take us to our second point, talking about our transition from Discovery Day to National Heroes Day. And that transition was made in 2013. But before then, there was a transition to recognize our national heroes prior to that. That was formulated in an act. But what are your views on the transition from Discovery Day to National Heroes Day? I know you would have said that, Columbus may have done some things, but I believe that our national heroes should probably have a separate day. What are your thoughts?
yes, they really should be separated because I'm telling you that countries in the Caribbean are waiting. They waited for us to give up on that day. You know, there are other countries in the Caribbean, Turks and Caicos and those islands, who are saying that Christopher Columbus landed there. He didn't really discover these islands because the Arawak Indians were there from the year 600 AD. He didn't really discover them, but he discovered the existence of the islands, not the people. I'm not 100% Christopher Columbus person, but I do know that he did quite a bit for the country. He did quite a because when he went back to Spain and he went to meet with Queen Isabella and the rest of them there, and the Catholic persons were there too, because he was a Catholic. Christopher Columbus was a devout Catholic. That's why we have the Columbus, the Knights of Columbus, and that organization with 700,000 people around the world is in honor of him. He was a devout Catholic. So I don't think that the the changing of that day. I mean, brings that day down to me. It brings it down a little bit. It brings it below the level of what it should be. And like I was telling you before, that there are countries around the world that still has Columbus in their name. I told you British Columbia, Canada, that Columbia on the end there is for Columbus. That's British Columbia, Canada. And they have Columbus, Ohio, Columbus, Georgia. You can Google that name, Columbus, and you'll find it straight on down through South America, all over the place. But someone who was so awful and who the Bahamian people took the name out of the history, out of history book, I don't think that was too good for me. I don't like it too much. I don't agree with it too much. I think National Heroes should be a separate Bahamian day with Bahamian celebrations and not change the day, not like that. And I don't think can you change it without an act of parliament, or was it changed by an act of parliament? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
there
don't
was a
know.
motion. There was a motion to change it, and that was a whole process to get that change over. So thank you so much for sharing that. And so we move into our next point. You talked about the unsung heroes in the family islands who would have helped the local community, who are not so much honored. So who is a national hero? How would you define a national hero, and who is a national hero to you?
To me, like I said before, Deidre, the national hero is someone who's done significance for the country and the people. Like I'm using these islands like, let's say, Crooked Island or Inago or Auckland, so one of those islands on there, who are so far away from New Providence and have to depend on a particular citizen to do something for their upkeep, their health, a guidance, the teacher who's been in the school for so many years, and people like that, and they sacrifice getting school supplies and feeding the school children with lunch and stuff like that. For years they've been doing it until their retirement, and no one knows who they are.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. These are the unsung heroes.
They're the
So I want to
unsung
take,
heroes.
yes, definitely unsung heroes. So I want to take us into our next point, honoring and recognizing our national heroes. As we are aware, there are persons doing stuff in the community and they're not always recognized. So how can we recognize those persons and continue to honor and recognize our national heroes?
Well, we should have a special committee just set up just for that. And that should be, I think, every island commissioner, whoever they are on the family islands, could point out some persons who've done so much, maybe alive or dead, and that has to be done. It has to be done in the islands, like each island would know who these persons are, who are living or they're dead. Abaco, the Berry Islands, I'm sure every island has a story that they need to tell. A national hero doesn't necessarily have to be from Nassau, from New Providence. And I'm afraid that's what's happening. I don't know if they have that many island persons, but they have a lot of them are in New Providence. For the family islands, and they need to come together on each island and figure. But this will take years to do because it's not an easy task to do. Um, each island come together and figure out who on their island has done so much, or which people, how many of them. Maybe not one, maybe more than one, maybe several persons. Inago would have their crew of persons who did so much for them, because I'm concentrating on the southern islands because it's so difficult for them to get into Nassau, into New Providence for anything. And that's the Macau area, Mayaguana, Inagua, Crooked Island, Auckland, and Long Key. That's the area that the southern Bahamas where a lot of persons don't even know what's happening down there.
Awesome, awesome. So we move into our next point, rating our efforts to preserve our culture. How would you rate our efforts to preserve our culture and highlight those national heroes who have made a significant contribution to the development of our communities and the development of our society?
Well, I'll rate them a C plus or C minus. I don't know. Because in my research on Bahamian history, I told you I started to research Bahamian history more than 20 years ago. And I mean, I went from the year 600 AD down to 1838, which is emancipation. And there's two persons in my mind that have just been completely overlooked because of the years of time and because persons didn't really know or research or want to find out anything about him. And that person would be Pompey Roll of Steventon of Exuma. He was a 33-year-old slave. I told you about him. And he was a 33-year-old slave. And he lived in Steventon. But because he lived on the Lord John Roll's plantation, and Lord John Roll had 5 plantations, and they were divided. Even though they had an overseer, Pompey took care of all those slaves. There were more than 1,000 of them. From Rollville down to Rollville, Steventon, Ramsey, Mount Thompson, and Roll Town, straight on down the line there. And he used to visit them every other week. He would run along the beach. Took him 6 hours to go from Rollville straight on down to Roll Town. And slaves, they listened to everything. You see, he knew how to read and write. He used to write letters to England, just to the slave master or Lord John Roll in England, let them know what the situations were like in Exuma. And no one knows anything about him. He was only 33. No one knows anything about him. He had a revolt. He did a revolt. He was fighting for freedom. He had them all gathered trying to get free. And nobody knows one thing about Pompey Roll of Steventon. He's my favorite person in the past. When I
Thank
think
you.
about him.
I want to ask you why he's your favorite person, but I want to get to this comment by Ms. Pollard again. She said it was changed because of Father Campbell from Cat Island. Do you know what she's talking about?
Yes, I know exactly what she's talking about. I know. In fact, I know a little bit more than what she's talking about, but she is correct. There was a committee that they formed and to take, and you know, they want to take everything that belongs to the Queen down. Not only Christopher Columbus, you know, they want to move Queen Victoria and put him somewhere. They want to put Christopher Columbus near the docks near Arawa Key or somewhere because he was a sailor. They want to take Queen Victoria from there and put us somewhere else, and just want to get rid of everything that has us connected to the British Commonwealth. It was not a very smart thing to do, and I think that if you're going to want to do something, that you have a committee of not just a certain number of people. You have a committee of several persons who could say yes or no and give their views. You can't have one person giving their views on our side, on our Bahamian history. You can't do it. You can't take it upon yourself to do it. And we have not done a very good job on preserving our Bahamian history because we have all the forts going in ruins. We have the lighthouses. You know, there's what 30 lighthouses across the Bahamas, and I know each one of them. We have 12 lights in New Providence. 12 lights are here. The water towers, the lights on the water tower could reach all around the western New Providence, and that hasn't been on for about at least 40 years. We haven't done a good job in preserving our history.
And maintaining those historical sites, as you would have said.
The historical sites is not, and you know, if you can go anywhere in Florida or Washington or anywhere in the world, you see these historical sites are all. But what about, I'm talking about historical sites, what about the UNESCO sites? The glass window bridge in Eleuthera, that's a historical site. And you have Dean's Blue Hole in Long Island, that's a historical site, and I could go on and on and on, and nobody knows anything about them. What about the American loyalists that are buried in our cemetery, where we got our last names from?
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, Ms. Chase. Um, can you talk a little? Can you go a little bit? Talk a little bit about that. We do have some of those loyalists who are buried in our cemeteries, and we carrying
They
some
are
of
buried in our, they
their
are buried in our
titles, their
cemetery, in
surnames.
particular the Western Cemetery. There's some buried on the Eastern Parade grounds. There's some buried in St. Matthew's Cemetery, and then there's a cemetery that was taken down a few years ago. I think it was I forgot the name of it. The one government took a tractor and tracked down all of the tombstones and tracked down all the graves. That cemetery was completely, they tracked that down to put low cost housing there. And after everybody found out that their relatives were buried in there, that you pass that cemetery, that place, that space every day, and nothing has been built there. But the American loyalists, I mean, I'll name a few of them, and I told you about the name where your name came from. I know that James Hepburn, where the Hepburns of Cat Island, he was leader of the opposition in the House of Assembly in 1783. He was the leader of the opposition, the leader. And they had James Morse was from Crooked Island, I think. And they had John Petty was from Eleuthera. They had Isaac Ballou from Blue Hill Road. He was a member of that group as well. They had I'm trying to remember all of them because I have them in my head. And they had the Speaker of the House of Assembly, and all those persons are buried in the Eastern Cemetery. They're buried in the Eastern Cemetery near Paradise Island Bridge. We have the Campbells, and the last name like Campbell. We have Eve, EVE. That's not a very proper name, but that's also a name of a loyalist. Johnson, name of a loyalist, and I mean, we actually got our last names after emancipation from these American loyalists. And if you really want to get a lot of tourists to come here, then you need to find the relatives who sit looking for them. We have Cunningham, Lake Cunningham, the Brigadier General Robert Cunningham. That's his lake. He was the Brigadier General in the American War of Independence. And when he came here with his slaves, that whole lake, not just Lake Cunningham, but Brigadier General Robert Cunningham in front of his name. He's in the Western Cemetery, right near the wall He's buried with his wife and two daughters. I found the grave there. Whenever I go to a funeral, I look around the cemetery and try look and see if I can connect names.
Wow, but the graves are there. The graves are there.
Yeah, they're there. And then the reason why they're there is because John Wells, who was also a loyalist that went down to Long Island, he bought his printing press into Nassau. And that's how we get all the names and stuff on the tombstones, because he was that savvy.
Wow, wow. So let's talk about supporting national heroes as we look to National Heroes Day. How can we know that there's small work to be done in terms of highlight and in terms of preserving culture. But how can we as a society and as a community continue to support National Heroes Day?
Well, first of all, we have to know our history. We have to know our history, and I don't think a lot of Bahamians know a lot about the history. I know they don't know about it, and a lot of persons. I'm sad to say, but a lot of persons don't even care. That's the only thing that's really on Bahamians' mind right now. First of all, that's on their mind is with COVID-19 has left a lot of stress on a lot of persons' mind, and even before that, I don't think there were many persons that were their books are written. Bahamian history books are not in actually in the Bahamas. Bahamian history books are in the store and in the libraries and in Florida and in Atlanta and South Carolina, North Carolina, Mississippi and Virginia. That's where our history and the University of Florida. The University of Florida has information for us as well. In fact, they have several boxes of history there of Bahamian history that was sent over to be digital, and I don't think they ever send them back.
So you're saying our history is in another country.
Yes, when you travel, if you travel to any country, the first thing you would do is you go into the library or you go into Walmart or whatever, you look for the Caribbean section or history section, and you pick up a book and you look in the back in the index and you look for Bahamas, and you'll find information in those books, but that they're not here. All of our history is not here. You probably can find it online at the online bookstores. You can buy a book, but we have history books here that are written by Bahamians, but the real history books written by all sorts of persons around the world who connected or had some dealings with the Bahamas. You'll find them in other countries. And I found a book in England. I was in England. I found Bahamian history in England and history books in England.
Wow. So we
And
definitely need.
do you know that the famous William Lightfoot from Lightfoot Key, he was a loyalist. He was a loyalist out of Atlanta, Georgia. And persons don't really know that when they were fighting between the Spanish and the English for New Providence, that William Lightfoot, along with Colonel Andrew DeVoe, was on the same boat that came into Nassau to rescue New Providence from the Spanish. Nobody knows anything about him. He's buried in Cat Island. He's buried in Cat Island. He had two pieces of property. He lived in Cat Island and he farmed in Lightfoot Key in New Providence. It was his farm. He never lived here. He's buried in Cat Island.
Wow, this is some interesting history. Some interesting history. Some interesting history. And so again, when we look at our national heroes, you said that in order for us to really recognize and honor these persons, we first need to know. We first need to. That's the first step. We first need to know our history. We need
Yeah,
to
we
know
need
about these national
yeah, we
heroes.
need to know our history first, because if we don't know our history, then it'd be wasting our time. We have to do things that make people more interested in knowing Bahamian history. But if we don't know our history, we are a lost generation, because I'm certainly that those persons who came would come to the country and change the names of our islands would know that you can't do that, because if you change the name of an island from let's say Cat Key to Sponsor whatever, change the name of the island, then you actually change in history. So future Bahamians would not be able to find the history. If you change the name of an island to whatever you want to name it to, and we just and the people let them do that, Then when the future Bahamians have finished college and come home looking for these different places, they're gonna be lost. They're gonna be mixed up like conch salad.
And I want to thank you for sharing that. As you talk about future generations, I want to go to a comment from Ms. Paulette, who's asking if you are a teacher. And she said, we are not doing a good job of teaching our history to our students. This is why some of our people really don't care about connecting to our history. The only thing they kind of highlight is Junkanoo.
That is
What are your
all.
thoughts?
Well, you know, I'm working with the children writers of the Bahamas. I have children writers, a group of writers, small children from age 4 to age 16 on every island. We just took on Admiral Ferguson High School down in Crooked Island. But my main focus for them is to showcase literacy, Bahamian history, and culture. That's what I've been doing for the past 17 years, teaching the students that are under in my group their history. They know their history. Do you know that the children in the Southern Islands wrote things that you will never know anything about? They wrote about goat hunting in Long Key. And how many persons know that there are more goats on Long Key than people? Nobody. Nobody knows. It's a different world down there for them. So we have a
Could you
lot of
repeat
work to
that? Could
do.
you repeat that, Ms. Chase?
I'm saying that I get a lot. Just the children in my group, we showcase to them literacy, Bahamian history, and culture. And they are age 4 to age 16. They know their history much as I can tell them, or we can show them, or tell them. They know that the culture, and then they know. We teach them or show them everything. They write about it. I'm saying that a few years ago, a student at Long Key All Age School, wrote a story about goat hunting in Long Key. There are more goats in Long Key than people.
What's that, Long Key?
Long Key, yeah, Fortune Island.
Okay, so you said there's a thing with goat hunting.
They did a story called Goat Hunting in Long Key.
You said goat or goats?
Goat, Goat.
Oh, okay,
Goat hunting, and we never even knew they had goats down there.
No,
No.
no. Wow.
You know, I mean, it's a lot of work, Deidre, to you have to make history exciting. And the way I found to be exciting was I did when I went to I do a lot of talking around the school before the pandemic. I would go to various schools and various Rotary and all over the place, Governor's, all over the place talking about Bahamian history. But I had a very interesting tour when I told the students I was coming, and they must write down their last names, and I'll connect them to just which island their last names are connected to. And that's what we did. We went through all the names, and your name, Moss, Helboyne, Carey, Culmer, Dean, Cunningham, went through all the names of the students in the class, and I told them the origin of their names. And that's what we did all the time with the students. Let them know that they didn't just arrive, or they just born on an island with no identity. Each of them have their identity and the connection.
Definitely. And I want to thank you for sharing that. And it's important as a people to know where we would have came from, where we would have originated from in order to know where we are going. And
Exactly.
again, as you would have mentioned, an important part of observing National Heroes Day is to actually know the history and actually know about these people. That is definitely an important component. And then you would have also talked about the fact that we do have persons who worked in the community, who work closely with the people, even on our far outstretched family islands, who have done so much for our communities, who are basically unsung heroes. And so also that is something that we also need to consider as well.
Exactly. We too NASA focus, New Providence focus. We're very New Providence focus. And I don't
And
know where
then you
it's
would have
gonna.
also talked about one of your favorites, Pompey Road.
Pompey
I guess
Road.
that's one of your favorite national.
Pompey was
Well,
born in 1797. Yeah. This born seven, and James Carmichael Smith knew him very well. The governor who arrived in 1829, he knew him very well. I think he was one of the only, this only slave that I could remember right offhand that was so well versed and so educated himself. He did a lot of reading on it. But then the gentleman, Lord John Roll, Lord and Dennis Roll, they insisted that their slaves knew how to read and write. That was something that was in the that on there. And Exuma was the very first island that where I know that slaves knew how to read and write.
Exuma was the first island
Where their owners, the plantation owners, insisted that the slaves on his plantation know how to read and write, and the ones who knew how to read and write teach the others.
and then you talked about the history of the persons who would have come in and set up schools, set up the Catholic schools, and some of them we still have.
Yes, they did.
Who
We
taught
still have
us
the
how
Catholic
to?
school system.
Yeah,
They unsung heroes, and no one has ever mentioned not anything about them at all. And it's because of them they started the Xavier's College. Well, I'm a graduate of Xavier's College, and that was an all-girls school. And the nuns taught us everything that we needed to know, how to be ladies, how to, how to take care of your family and be honest and things like that. They taught us that. I don't know.
You talk about them being unsung heroes, and they came in and helped with the education system, and some of these schools are still standing today.
System. It set up an educational system, and it didn't only have, it was not only for Catholics, No, it was those persons who were able to pass an exam and get into the school, not only for Catholics. And those who didn't have any money didn't have to pay in the beginning, didn't have to pay. But I wish one day the teacher that told me that I'd be a writer, I wish I could see her face right now.
That's your teacher? You reminiscent about your teacher?
Yes, I reminisce.
What was her name?
Her name is Miriam Matthew.
Miriam Matthew.
She had the last name of her father.
Awesome, awesome. So she would have taught you a lot of good stuff in school.
She did. Mm-hmm. She did. She did. She did.
So can we also talk about our national hero as well? I don't know if you have any information you would like to share, but we're having a new $100 bill come on stream, and there's a particular national hero who's going to be on that dollar. So Arthur D. Hanna, is there anything you can share about his contribution?
I know he was I don't have any of anything that he freely gave, but I know he did a lot of positions in government. He really was there for the government. And I guess if you're saying the government, you could include the people with him too, but I don't know of anything that he did specifically for the people. It's just that he helped the government through the country, I don't have any specific thing that I can't say that he walked into the bank or did something like that, but I think he was an awfully, he did a lot for the country and the formation of the party and stuff like that.
But you talked about Samalo Butler. You talked about the fact that he would have been one of those persons who advocated for more diversity in the banking system, because we know early in those days, you would have had persons more of a lighter hue behind the teller desk. So you would have talked about how he would have advocated to have more diversity in the bank, more specifically Black persons working in the bank system.
Well, he did this the same day he walked into the Royal Bank of Canada. I remember I was a young teller then, and he had, oh boy, he was not very quiet when he came into the bank, I'll be honest with you. He came into I was at the teller's wicket. I was just start working there for a few months, and he and his son Frankie used to come into the bank together, and when he demanded, the manager didn't really come out of the office. But when they didn't listen to him, he took a shoe off his foot, off his right or left foot, and he banged on the counter. And he told them that they have to do better. And then he began to
Wow.
talk, but everyone in the bank knew him already. And what they did is they pushed the panic button.
Wow.
Policeman came and threw him outside.
They pushed the panic button.
And the two policemen, a panic button is the button that's connected to the police station. And they threw him outside and he came back inside again and told them they have to do better. And from there, he went into Barclays Bank and did the same thing the same day.
Wow, wow. And then he's also considered one of our national heroes as well. As you mentioned, he was one of the persons who would have threw the mace out of the window, right?
Exactly. He and Tamilo. He and he was definitely a national hero. He used to work around, go around to the hospital and give them coins on the ward. And, that's the kind of person that. Anyway, I have my feelings about him. I have my feelings about him.
Awesome, awesome. But there's some move to highlight our national heroes as we look at our currency, and we see that there are some of those national heroes represented on our bills, on our currency. So there's some,
yes.
Some ways to honor those who would have contributed to our society as well.
Exactly. Whose contributions went a bit higher than all the others.
Yeah. So is there any other national hero you can think of? Before we close, can we highlight one or two more persons?
Well, I mentioned Marla Butler. I mentioned there was one or two other really close to it. There was a teacher, and her name was Delmita Stewart, and she did everything she could possibly do in that time for students. She'd pick them up in a truck and take them to school. She'd provide lunch for them. She was like a parent to them, and it was just awesome. I spent a few days in her classroom just observing her. Sometime when I go to Cat Island, but observing her, but she did for students. I said, Damita, you really, really something else. And why are you doing all these different things? She said, because she don't think anybody really would do it. So that's why she did it for them, students. When she go home, the distance were long distances to travel to get to go home after school. And she had a truck. She'd put all the students in the back of her truck and take them home and drop them off to their door. That's the kind of person she was. She's deceased now, though. And then there are many other persons, many others. I don't want to single out anybody. I don't want to leave anybody up in particular, Since what we need to do is look at the list of the national heroes and see who's on the list. I guess you can Google it and find it. It wouldn't be that hard to find.
Awesome, awesome. Ms. Paula, thank you for sharing. She says she agrees with putting A.D. Hannah on the $100 bill as representative of a national hero in our country. So she agrees with that. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing and listening in with us. We appreciate you so much for sharing.
The A.D. Hannah was from, I understand, from Pompey Bay, Acklands. So they could also name the school on there, the Arthur Hannah School in Pompey Bay. The families from Acklands. So I am continuing with my, like I was telling you that we're trying to get a film together on the life of Pompey. It's a 6-part series, and we concentrate on the first scene one at a time. So I'm just working on that. And
well, I know you don't want to go too much into that because you're still working on that. So I don't want you.
I'm still working on that. No, I'm not going to go into that. No, I'm not going to go into that. No, I promise you I wasn't. So thank you for reminding me.
Yes, and then I want to thank you for working in that regard to highlight our national heroes, because a lot of people don't know about him as much either. He's not someone who is really highlighted, but you spoke about the fact that he was a learned slave on the
He was
plantation who
learned.
helped other slaves.
He was a learned slave, and mean the devotion and attention he gave to them. I mean, if Pompey didn't tell them to go anywhere, they wouldn't move. You know, if he didn't tell them to go and do what the overseers say, they wouldn't do it. You know, unless he tell them. No.
Awesome. So I want to thank you for sharing that and sharing this information with us. I just want you to put your hand down just a little, just rest your hand down a little bit. Yeah.
Put my hand down.
Yeah, okay, good. So I want to thank you, Ms. Chase, for joining us today and sharing all of this information about our national heroes and the unsung heroes sometimes that we don't get to highlight. We don't talk about these people who contributed to the development of our society, whether it is in health, as you would have talked about the midwives on the family islands who would have assisted in the delivering of babies, because those were far-flung islands and you didn't always have access to having doctors come in and deliver babies. So you had the midwives on the islands who were delivering babies. And then you talk about the education system as well, and persons who would have come in and aided in the development of our education system, with some of these schools still standing today. And then even in our political system as well, we have persons who would have contributed to the development of our political system. And even in terms of social justice, in terms of those persons who would have advocated for more diversity, because we do have a history of the fight for equality, racial equality in our country. Exactly, and we have persons who would have supported and persons who would have pushed for racial equality in our country and giving Black persons the opportunity to have a fair, opportunity within our country as with any other person in the country. So the fight continues on as well. And so we want to continue to observe our national heroes and our new national heroes as well, coming to the limelight as well. And so I want to thank you for sharing that information with us today. And as you would have mentioned, an important part of being able to recognize and highlight our national heroes is to be able to know the history and actually know who these persons are. So basically that is the start. And so with that, I want to ask you, as we come down to the end of the session, if you would like to add any further commentary to that.
If I'd like to. What's that, Deidre? Can you say it again? Can you say it?
Sure. Just want to know if you have any further commentary, if you would like to add anything else as we draw to a close.
Yes, I would really be so very, very pleased if payments whether they or persons who are interested, whether they are in New Providence or in the Family Islands or in the United States or wherever you are, if you can advise us or guide us of what we could do to bring everyone together, to just do something about our history, do more about our history, and to explore our culture and just come closer. The world is getting closer by the fact that we're on Zoom, but why can't we all just come together and just do something?
Just move your hand over a little, Ms. Chase. Your hand is
do
covering
something
the
together.
camera.
I mean, if the persons who want to Zoom with you want to know any more information, they could contact you. If they want to know any information about any of the Family Islands, they could also contact you, and you could contact me. I'll be more than happy if they are from descendants of Eleuthera or Exuma or Long Island or wherever you are in the world or listening to us. If you want some more information about this country, you can contact Deidre and I'll be sure to share everything. We need to come together.
Thank you for sharing. Ms. Chase, just get your hand down, hand off the camera. Right, okay, got you. So I want to thank you, Ms. Chase, for sharing that information and talking about our connection, our British connection and American connection as well. As you would have mentioned, there are loyalists, American loyalists who are buried in the graveyards, and you talk about our connection and our history written down in other countries as well. So I want to thank you for sharing that information and being so willing to share and talk about our history in conjunction with National Heroes Day. And so if you have no further comments, right?
No, I think I'll just pray. I'm just praying that that one day our history would be come to the forefront. That we would concentrate more on our history, because if we don't concentrate on it and do something about it, it's going to fade away. There will be we will have no There'll be no interest from anybody about it. And no one will never know there's a country of more than, we have 2,500 islands, rocks, and keys. Not only 700 islands, there's 2,500 islands, tiny islands, rocks, and keys, that if we don't concentrate on our history and teach our children about our history, then the next couple of years we won't have history.
Thank you. I just want to recognize some of the persons who were listening in today. Michal, I want to thank you for joining us today. They said that they agree we must all do our part to share our history with the next generation. And they said they are Bahamian strong. And Ms. Paulette also want to recognize you and thank you for listening in, as well, as we would have had this talk about National Heroes Day in conjunction, and also talking about our history as well. So I want to thank you all for listening in with us today.
You are an awesome person. You're an awesome host.
Thank you, Ms. Chase. You are an awesome guest.
I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm
And I
trying
want
to
to
write
thank.
a book. I'm trying to write a book called The Unknown History of the Bahamas.
Well, these stories need to be told, Ms. Chase.
Yeah.
These stories need to be told.
They need to be told exactly that.
So I'm just going back and going through those comments. And again, I just want to say, I just want to say, I know who your favorite, at least I know who your favorite national hero is, right?
I don't have to say it again. No.
No, you don't have to tell, you don't have to say it again.
No.
I think I know who that is.
And you know the two of them are. Two. It's two.
It's two? I thought it's only one.
Bill Pompey is one, and Samala Butler is number two.
Awesome, awesome. And as we close, I just want you to share that last story that you would have said about him going into the bank and them having to call the panic, but had to press the panic button, and him having to get taken out of the bank because he would have advocated for a social equality. Can you share that story as we end?
Few months.
With him going into the bank?
I just joined the bank a few months before
Oh,
that.
So you were working in the bank?
I was working in the bank.
Oh.
I was working in the bank, and they had all sorts of activities on Bay Street, where they were trying to get this government, take one government out and put a new one in. But I knew Samala Butler very well because he was my client. He and his son, Frankie. They would come in every morning. The two of them, both of them were deceased now, though. But the day when he came into the bank, he came in by himself. So nobody was offbeat because he was in there, because we knew that he come in almost every morning. But this morning he came in with attitude. And he said, he came with an attitude, and he said he came to the counter, the marble counter. The manager's door was right ahead, and he said, you all have to I want to see the manager. But the manager, of course, didn't come, but the secretary came over. And he said, you all have to make changes in this bank. And Benny Lucky took his shoe off his foot, and he banged on the counter for him to come out. And he said it again. So he said, staff from Spanish Wells, Long Island, and Abaco are not black staff. He told him that. He said, you have to hire more black Bahamians. And they pushed the panic button, which is a little button right underneath the teller's wicket. And two little policemen, he was a big man, two little policemen came running inside the door, put their hands on his shoulder, and they pushed him out the door. Is that what you want to hear?
Yes, thank you for sharing. Thank you. Okay, just push your hand over just a little bit.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so thank you again for joining us today, talking about national heroes. And so we definitely want to bring you back in as well in your role as the president of Commonwealth Writers of the Bahamas. I got it right?
Yes, you did. The Commonwealth Writers of the Bahamas. We have
Okay,
student writers from age 4 to age 16.
awesome. So we definitely, and they're from various parts of the islands, far flung, right?
Various parts of Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
Various
Awesome.
parts, Abaco, Andros, Berry Islands, Cat Island, Exuma, Grand Bahama, right on down the chain, New Providence.
Awesome. So with that, we have come to the end of our session. I want to thank
you, Dave.
Thank you, Ms. Chase, for joining me today. Thank our viewers for listening in. And I would like to again thank you, Ms. Chase, for being our guest today. Like our page for future notifications of upcoming talks. Comment under our videos. Let us know your thoughts and let us know what you want us to talk about. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Can We Talk? Follow us on Instagram and Twitter using the addresses provided on our page. Thank you and good evening. And let's keep talking.